Well, the Carolina Panthers are a team that is unraveling. A couple of days ago, they fired their general manager, Marty Hurney. Very unusual for an NFL team to fire their general manager in the middle of the season. And when that happens, you know that nobody's job is safe. Everybody is on notice. Because remember, the GM is the guy who hired all these people and drafted and signed all these people. Hired the coaches, drafted and signed the players. If it weren't for Marty Hurney, Ron Rivera would not be the coach of the Carolina Panthers right now. And if it weren't for Hurney, most, if not all, of these players would not be playing for the Carolina Panthers right now. So now, who knows what this team's going to look like next year? Will Ron Rivera be the coach? You'd have to say probably not, unless he can really turn this team around over the second half of the season. Usually when new general managers are hired, they want to bring in their own guy as head coach. And will that guy, the new general manager, and if there's a new head coach, will they want a new quarterback? A lot of times when you see a new GM and a new head coach, especially if they're taking over a team with a high draft choice, they want to draft their own quarterback. They want their own guy. Cam Newton last year, at the end of last year, was seen as a can't-miss type guy, a perennial Pro Bowler, but he's really struggled throughout the first 6 weeks of this season, and not only on the field, but more disturbing, if you're a general manager or a coach who's taking over the Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton's leadership has been questioned, not just by media types, but by guys in his own locker room. I mean, Steve Smith, the wide receiver, went public a couple of weeks ago questioning Cam Newton's demeanor on the sideline and in huddles while his team is losing. And since then, nothing appears to be changing with Cam. I mean, last week after that loss to Dallas, a bizarre post-game press conference when he sort of hung his head and, sort of looked down and talked in very low tones and mentioned his offensive coordinator, not by name, didn't mention Rob Chudzinski by name, but said, I don't know what needs to change. Is it the players? Is it the offensive coordinator? It's a very unusual thing to say. Very unusual thing if you're a quarterback to say in a post-game press conference. And his attitude in general is more like what you're used to seeing from a 12-year-old kid who just lost a Little League game, not an elite athlete. I mean, pick your chin up, man. I mean, these are grown men he's dealing with trying to lead. How are you going to follow a guy like that? And really, that's what we're seeing. I mean, his own teammates have been saying things like this. It's obvious from the outside looking in. So is a new general manager, and assuming that guy hires a new coach, are they going to want to keep that quarterback around? I mean, it was inconceivable a few weeks ago that Cam Newton might not be the quarterback of the future for the Carolina Panthers, but you have to say that right now, that's likely going to be the case. Now, that means the rest of this season, for Ron Rivera, for Cam Newton, for a lot of guys on this roster, they are playing for their NFL future. I mean, they're playing for their careers, really. Not that Cam Newton won't get another chance. Even if he plays bad throughout the rest of this season, some team will give him another chance. But we saw Vince Young get another chance after he was run out of Tennessee, and it just didn't work well. A lot of times in the NFL, if you're a quarterback, you only get one or two chances, then all of a sudden, you're a career backup, or you're Vince Young and out of the league after 6 years. Remember, Vince Young made the Pro Bowl in his first year as well. Once upon a time, he was, he was Cam Newton before Cam Newton was Cam Newton. Now, I know Newton passes the ball better than Vince Young. His passing stats were better than Young last year, but Cam Newton turns the ball over a lot. He turns the ball over more than Young did. I mean, this is a guy, 17 interceptions last year. Now, a lot of people just looked over that because of all the big plays he made. But when you look at this year, the big plays are gone. The turnovers still remain. It's got to be very frustrating for Carolina fans to see the defense really starting to play better, but the team's still not winning games. I mean, the defense for the last couple of seasons has been seen as the problem in Carolina, and with good reason. They were horrible last year. They were really bad at the beginning of this season. But 2 games in a row now, the defense has held their opposition under 20 points. That should be good enough to win in the NFL. Carolina Panthers have lost both of their games. So only questions right now, not a lot of answers with this team. They go on the road this week to face the Chicago Bears, a team that's 5-1 right now, looking as good as any team in the NFL. Chicago installed as a 9-point favorite in this game on BETDAQ, 43 the total. Bears have been dominant on defense, number 1 in the league in points allowed, number 2 in the league in rush defense. So we'll see. We'll see if Cam Newton and that Carolina offense can do it this week against a really, really good defense. But it hasn't only been the defense for Chicago. Their offense has been much improved this year as well. Really the addition of free agent wide receiver Brandon Marshall, or I guess he wasn't a free agent. They acquired him from the Miami Dolphins. But the addition of Brandon Marshall has made an instant impact on this offense. When's the last time you can remember the Chicago Bears having a legitimate number one go-to wide receiver. I mean, it's been a long time, but they have that guy now in Brandon Marshall. And you can see Jay Cutler is clearly much more comfortable throwing the ball to him than anybody else on the team. And it's made a big difference in this offense. It hasn't only been the passing game. Chicago has run the ball very effectively. Matt Forte, one of the better backs in the league, and Michael Bush, the free agent acquisition from the Oakland Raiders, he's paid immediate dividends as well. So Chicago Bears are rolling right now. Aside from they've laid one egg this season. They had a bad performance against the Green Bay Packers. That game was on national television. I think that's the reason why you're not hearing more people right now saying the Bears might be the best team in the NFL. But if they continue going on their current path, you are going to hear people start saying that. I just don't see, unless the Carolina Panthers, and we've seen the Bears in years past, not this year, but we've seen the same group of players, the Chicago Bears, be a little inconsistent at times. I'm talking about Jay Cutler. We've seen Jay Cutler have some atrocious performances over the last couple of seasons. He'll have multiple interception games where he takes a lot of sacks, throws a lot of interceptions, and just doesn't get any better as the game progresses. Unless something like that happens, some sort of meltdown like that, or unless the Panthers can put forth an effort like they did a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta, which I don't think they'll be able to. Really, I think that all the fight is now beaten out of this Panthers team. But unless something like that happens, I really can't see the Panthers keeping this game competitive. Remember, it's not only all the off-field issues with the GM being fired and all the questions about Cam Newton now. The Panthers have some legitimate on-field injury issues. Within the last few days, 3 cornerstones of this franchise have been placed on season-ending IR. Talking about linebacker John Beeson, cornerback Chris Gamble, center Ryan Khalil. So those are big losses for this team. They're undermanned, going on the road, playing a better team. Chicago's a 9-point favorite in here, and I lean towards the Bears to cover here. I know that the Bears, in the past, Jay Cutler's been inconsistent. I know that 9's a lot of points to be given any NFL team. But it's tough to make an argument for the Panthers in this spot. They don't feel like a team to me that is about to rally around each other and come through with an inspired performance. They feel like a team similar to last year's Tampa Bay Bucks towards the end of the season that are just unraveling and things might get worse before they get better. So as we sit here right now on Wednesday, we've got a couple of more days before we make our official picks here on the site, but I do lean towards Chicago -9 in this game.